Unknown phantom approaches. Empire fleets flee a ghost in the stars. Chapter 1. A Whisper in the Void. The silence of deep space was broken only by the faint hum of the Eclipse Vanguard's engines as it drifted through an uncharted sector near the edge of the Galactic Dominion's territory. Captain Lyra Voss stood on the bridge, her sharp eyes scanning the holographic displays that flickered with data from the ship's sensors. She had been tasked with routine patrol duty, a mundane assignment meant to keep her out of trouble after the fallout of her last mission, but something about this region unsettled her. It wasn't just the cold emptiness of the void, it was the feeling that they weren't alone. "Captain," called Lieutenant Tarek, the ship's sensor operator, his voice tinged with unease. "We're picking up something. An anomaly at coordinates 1247 beta." Lyra turned sharply, her dark hair catching the dim light of the bridge. "Define something, Lieutenant." Tarek hesitated, glancing at his console before answering. "It's hard to say, ma'am. There's no mass signature, but there's a massive energy spike. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's moving, erratically, almost too fast for our systems to track." Lyra frowned. Energy anomalies weren't uncommon in these regions, but the lieutenant's tone suggested something more ominous. "Bring it up on the main screen." The holodisplay shifted, revealing a swirling distortion in the fabric of space-time. It shimmered, like liquid silver, pulsing faintly with an otherworldly glow. For a moment, the crew on the bridge held their breath, transfixed by its alien beauty. Then suddenly, the anomaly vanished. "What just happened?" Lyra demanded. I don't know, Captain," Tarek stammered. "1 second it was there and then gone. No trace left behind." Before she could order further analysis, the comms channel crackled to life. "This is Scout Ship Orion, requesting immediate assistance. We've encountered—" Static interrupted the transmission, followed by screams. Then silence. Lyra clenched, her jaw. "Get me command and send a distress signal to the nearest fleet division." Chapter 2. Shadows across the stars. Within hours, reports flooded in from across the sector. Dozens of ships had either disappeared or sent garbled transmissions describing encounters with an unknown entity. Witnesses spoke of a ghostly vessel that phased in and out of reality, leaving destruction in its wake. Entire squadrons were wiped out within seconds, their fates unknown. Panic rippled through the ranks of the Dominion Navy, which prided itself on maintaining absolute control over known space. Admiral Cale Draven, Commander-in-Chief of the Dominion Fleet, slammed his fist onto the conference table aboard the flagship, Dominion Pride. His steely gaze swept across the assembled officers, daring anyone to speak out of turn. "What do you mean, no survivors?" he barked, his voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Commander Jorik, head of intelligence, cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, every ship we've sent into the affected zone has failed to return. Those who managed to transmit anything mentioned, well, sir, they described a phantom-like craft. Some even claimed it wasn't made of conventional materials. It seemed to shift between dimensions." Draven sneered. "Superstition. These are trained soldiers, not superstitious fools. Whatever this thing is, it's technology, and technology can be destroyed." "But Admiral," another officer ventured cautiously, "the speed and maneuverability of this entity exceed anything in our arsenal. Our best pilots couldn't hope to match it." Draven leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. "After a long pause, he said, "Then we'll bring everything we have, mobilize all available forces. If this phantom wants a fight, we'll give it one it won't forget." Chapter 3. Into the unknown. Back aboard the Eclipse Vanguard, Captain Voss received her new orders. Lead a task force into the heart of the anomaly zone. Her stomach churned as she read the briefing. This wasn't just a reconnaissance mission anymore. It was a direct confrontation with whatever, or whoever, was behind the disappearances. As the fleet assembled, Lyra found herself reflecting on the events that led her here. Once a decorated hero of the Dominion, she had fallen from grace after questioning the morality of certain military operations. Now, she was being used as cannon fodder, sent to face a threat no one understood. Still, she couldn't deny the gnawing curiosity tugging at her mind. What was this phantom, and why did it feel so personal? "Captain," came a voice behind her. She turned to see Lieutenant Commander Soren, her second in command. "Are you sure about this? Taking a full squadron into uncharted territory against an enemy we can't even identify?" "We don't have a choice," Lyra replied evenly. "If we don't figure out what this thing is, it'll keep coming for us until there's nothing left." Soren nodded grimly. "Understood. Just watch your back out there. Something about this feels wrong." Chapter 4. First contact, the task force arrived at the designated coordinates 2 days later. The stars around them seemed eerily quiet, as if holding their breath. Every sensor array was active, scanning for any sign of movement. Hours passed without incident, and some began to wonder if the phantom was merely a myth. Then, without warning, it appeared. At first, it was little more than a ripple in the darkness, a faint shimmer that grew brighter and more defined with each passing second. The phantom materialized before them, its form shifting and twisting like smoke caught in a vortex. Unlike any ship they'd ever seen, it radiated an aura of ancient power, as though it belonged to another era entirely. "Target locked," shouted the weapons officer. "Hold fire," Lyra commanded, her instincts screaming at her to wait. "Let's see what it does." For several tense moments, the phantom simply hovered, silent and unmoving. Then, abruptly, it surged forward, darting between the Dominion ships with impossible speed. Weapons fire erupted from the fleet, but the phantom dodged effortlessly, phasing in and out of existence as if mocking their attempts to hit it. And then, just as suddenly as it had arrived, it stopped. Hovering directly in front of the Eclipse Vanguard, it projected a beam of light that enveloped the ship. The crew shielded their eyes, blinded by the brilliance. When the light faded, a message appeared on the holo display, not in any human language, but in symbols that pulsed with an eerie rhythm. "What is that?" Soren asked, his voice trembling. Before anyone could answer, the phantom vanished again, leaving the fleet adrift in stunned silence. Chapter 5. Whispers of doubt back aboard the Dominion Pride. Admiral Draven listened intently as Lyra reported the encounter. His face remained impassive throughout her account, though his knuckles whitened as he gripped the armrests of his chair. "So you're telling me," he said slowly, "that this apparition didn't attack, but instead delivered some kind of message?" "Yes, sir," Lyra confirmed. "We don't know what it means yet, but—" "Enough," Draven interrupted. "I don't care about cryptic messages or theories. This is a threat to the Dominion, plain and simple. You will locate this phantom, capture it, and bring it under our control. Is that clear?" Lyra hesitated. "With respect, Admiral, given its capabilities, I'm not sure that's possible. Maybe we should focus on understanding it first." "Do not question my orders, Captain," Draven snapped, rising to his feet. "Failure is not an option. If you cannot handle this mission, I will find someone who can." Dismissed, Lyra returned to her ship, her thoughts swirling. She knew Draven wouldn't listen to reason, but she also knew that blindly charging into battle would only end in disaster. As the fleet prepared for their next sortie, she resolved to uncover the truth about the Phantom, even if it meant defying the Dominion itself. Epilogue. The scientist. Meanwhile, in a hidden corner of the galaxy, Arendor watched the unfolding chaos from the safety of his lab. The exiled scientist had spent years studying fragments of precursor technology, piecing together clues about civilizations long gone. When news of the Phantom reached him, he felt a chill run down his spine. "It's begun," he whispered to himself, staring at an ancient artifact glowing softly on his workbench. "They've awakened the Guardian." He activated a secure comlink, reaching out to an old contact within the Dominion Navy. "Captain Voss," he said when the connection established. "My name is Arendor. I believe I can help you understand what you're dealing with, but time is running out." Trust me, Captain. Humanity's survival depends on it. On the other end of the line, Lyra narrowed her eyes. Why should I trust you? Because, Arendor replied gravely, you're already out of options. Part 2, Shadows of the Past, Chapter 6, The Exile's Warning, Captain. Lyra Voss stared at the encrypted message from Arendor, her mind racing. The scientist's words echoed in her thoughts. You're already out of options. She didn't trust him. How could she? He was an exile, branded a traitor by the Dominion for his research into forbidden technologies. Yet something about his tone felt sincere, desperate even. Who is this guy? Lieutenant Commander Soren asked, leaning over her shoulder to glance at the screen. Arendor, Lyra replied curtly. A rogue scientist. Claims he knows what the Phantom is. And you believe him? I don't have much choice. Lyra sighed, turning to face her second-in-command. If there's even a chance he can explain what we're dealing with, I need to hear him out. Reluctantly, she sent a reply agreeing to meet under strict conditions. Hours later, a small battered transport docked with the Eclipse Vanguard. Aboard it was Arendor, a wiry man with sharp features and piercing gray eyes that seemed to hold centuries of knowledge. His presence unnerved the crew, but Lyra ignored their whispers as she led him to a secure briefing room. You've got 5 minutes, she said, folding her arms across her chest. Arendor smirked faintly. You won't need more than one once I tell you what I know. That Phantom isn't just a ship. It's an artificial intelligence created eons ago by a precursor civilization. They called it the Guardian, designed to protect the galaxy from species who grow too destructive or expansionist. Lyra frowned. So it's some kind of cosmic exterminator? In essence, yes, Arendor confirmed. But it doesn't act blindly. It observes, judges, and only intervenes when a species poses an existential threat to the balance of the cosmos. By all accounts, humanity has reached that point. The weight of his words settled heavily in the room. Soren broke the silence. And if we refuse to back down? Arendor's expression darkened. Then the Guardian will do what it was built to do. Wipe us out entirely. Chapter 7. Fractures. Within, as news of the Phantom's true nature spread through, the fleet fractures began to form within the ranks. Some officers viewed the entity as proof of divine retribution, while others dismissed it as propaganda meant to destabilize the Dominion. Admiral Draven, however, saw only one thing: a challenge to his authority. In a fiery address broadcast to every ship in the fleet, Draven declared war on the Phantom. This so-called Guardian is nothing but a relic of a dead age, he thundered, his voice crackling with barely contained rage. It dares to judge us, to threaten our very existence. We are the masters of the stars, and no ghost will stand in our way. His speech rallied many to his cause, but not everyone was convinced. Captain Voss found herself increasingly torn between loyalty to the Dominion and growing doubts about its methods. Late at night, she would pore over Arendor's notes, which detailed fragments of precursor history and the catastrophic consequences of their interventions. Each revelation chipped away at her faith in the empire she had sworn to serve. Her internal conflict came to a head during a tense meeting with Draven aboard the Dominion Pride. The Admiral demanded updates on her progress, his patience wearing thin. Well, he barked, glaring down at her. Have you found a weakness? A strategy to neutralize this Phantom? Not yet, sir, Lyra admitted cautiously. But perhaps attacking blindly isn't the answer. If Arendor is right— Arendor? Draven interrupted, his voice dripping with disdain. That lunatic's theories are irrelevant. What matters is strength, resolve, and dominance. You'd do well to remember where your loyalties lie, Captain. Dismissed once again, Lyra returned to her ship feeling more isolated than ever. She trusted neither Draven's fanaticism nor Arendor's cryptic warnings. But deep down, she knew the truth lay somewhere in between. Chapter 8. The Phantom Strikes Back. While the Dominion debated its next move, the Phantom continued its relentless campaign. Entire systems fell under its shadow as it systematically dismantled the Empire's infrastructure. Communication hubs were silenced, weapons platforms disabled, and planetary defenses rendered useless. Panic gripped the populace, and dissent simmered beneath the surface. One such attack targeted the industrial world of Proxima Centauri Prime, a key manufacturing hub for the Dominion Navy. The planet's orbital defense grid stood no chance against the Phantom's speed and precision. Within minutes, the shield generators collapsed, leaving the surface exposed to orbital bombardment. Cities burned, and millions perished in the ensuing chaos. Captain Voss watched the holofeed in horror, her fist clenched tightly. "How many more lives does he think are worth sacrificing?" she muttered bitterly. "He's not thinking," Soren replied grimly. "He's blinded by pride." The destruction of Proxima Centauri Prime marked a turning point. Even the most ardent supporters of the Dominion began questioning Draven's leadership. Rumors of mutiny spread like wildfire, and whispers of rebellion took root among the fleet. For the first time in decades, cracks appeared in the Empire's iron grip. Chapter 9. A vision of hope. Determined to find answers, Captain Voss decided to take matters into her own hands. Using intel provided by Arendor, she led a daring mission into uncharted territory, seeking a location linked to the Precursor's legacy. According to legend, it housed remnants of their technology, and possibly insights into the Phantom's programming. The journey was fraught with peril, navigating treacherous asteroid fields and evading patrols loyal to Draven. When they finally arrived at their destination, they discovered a derelict structure floating silently in the void. Its architecture was unlike anything human, with smooth curves and glowing runes etched into its surface. Inside, the air was thick with an eerie energy. As they explored the ruins, Arendor deciphered fragments of text scrawled on the walls. "This place was a repository of knowledge," he explained. "The Precursors left records here, hoping future civilizations might learn from their mistakes." Suddenly, the ground trembled as the Phantom materialized outside the structure. Instead of attacking, it projected a beam of light that enveloped the group. Images flooded Lyra's mind, visions of Earth's distant past, where humans first gazed at the stars with wonder and hope. She saw moments of unity, exploration, and discovery, contrasted sharply with the Dominion's current path of conquest and oppression. When the vision ended, tears streamed down her face. She understood now why the Phantom had spared them earlier. It wasn't just a harbinger of doom. It was offering humanity a chance to change, to prove itself worthy of survival. Chapter 10. A fragile alliance returning to the fleet. Captain Voss shared her experience with her closest allies. Though initially skeptical, they couldn't deny the sincerity in her voice or the urgency of her plea. Together, they began secretly organizing a rebellion aimed at overthrowing Admiral Draven and ending the war. Their efforts gained momentum as more officers defected, disillusioned by the mounting casualties and senseless destruction. Meanwhile, Arendor worked tirelessly to decode the Phantom's message, determined to uncover any remaining clues about its intentions. But time was running out. The Phantom's attacks grew more frequent and devastating, pushing the Dominion to the brink of collapse. Admiral Draven, desperate to maintain control, authorized the use of experimental weaponry capable of disrupting hyperspace itself. Ignoring the risks, he ordered the weapon deployed in a final reckless gambit. Epilogue: The Cost of Hubris. The battle that followed was cataclysmic. The experimental weapon succeeded in temporarily disabling the Phantom, but at a horrific cost. Nearby, stars destabilized, triggering supernova that obliterated entire systems. Billions died in the ensuing devastation, and the fabric of spacetime began to unravel. Watching the carnage unfold, Captain Voss realized the full extent of Draven's madness. Humanity's survival depended not on domination, but on humility and cooperation. With renewed resolve, she vowed to stop him, even if it meant sacrificing everything. Chapter 11. The Weight of Choice. The aftermath of Admiral Draven's gambit left the galaxy reeling. Entire star systems had been reduced to lifeless wastelands, their populations wiped out in an instant. The Dominion's once unshakable reputation crumbled under the weight of its own hubris. Even those who had blindly followed Draven began to question whether survival was worth the cost of such destruction. Captain Lyra Voss stood on the bridge of the Eclipse Vanguard, staring at the holofeed displaying the devastation. Her heart ached for the billions lost, but her mind raced with determination. Arendor's words echoed in her thoughts. "You've been given a second chance. Do not squander it." She knew now that humanity's fate rested not on brute force but on the courage to change. "The Phantom didn't attack us after Draven's weapon went off," Lieutenant Commander Soren observed, breaking the silence. "Why do you think that is?" "Because it saw what we're capable of," Lyra replied grimly. "Not just destruction, but also self-destruction. It's waiting to see if we can rise above this." Soren nodded slowly. "And if we don't? Then it finishes the job." Her resolve hardened. If humanity was to survive, they needed to dismantle the very system that had brought them to this brink. That meant taking down Admiral Draven and ending the Dominion's reign of tyranny. Chapter 12. Seeds of Rebellion. Under the cover of encrypted communications, Captain Voss reached out to other disillusioned officers across the fleet. Many were hesitant at first, fearing retaliation or doubting their ability to challenge Draven's iron grip. But as stories of Proxima Centauri Prime's destruction spread, along with the horrors unleashed by the hyperspace weapon, more voices joined the call for change. Among them was Commodore Rhea Callan, a decorated veteran who had served under Draven for decades. Once a staunch supporter of the Dominion, she now saw its flaws all too clearly. "We swore to protect humanity," she told Voss during a clandestine meeting aboard her flagship, the Orion Dawn. "But look at what we've become, a machine of conquest and oppression. If we don't act now, there won't be anything left to save." Together they formed a coalition of ships willing to defy Draven's orders. Their goal was simple yet monumental. Capture or neutralize the Admiral, dismantle the Dominion's centralized command structure, and negotiate peace with the Phantom. It was a risky plan, fraught with uncertainty. But failure meant extinction. As the rebellion gained momentum, whispers of dissent spread among the rank-and-file soldiers. Propaganda broadcasts from Draven's loyalists painted the rebels as traitors, but many saw through the lies. For the first time in generations, hope flickered in the hearts of those who had long believed themselves powerless. Chapter 13. The Final Revelation. While the rebellion prepared for war, Arendor worked tirelessly to decode the Phantom's message. Using data collected from the precursor ruins, he pieced together fragments of its language and intent. What he discovered shook him to his core. The Phantom's message isn't just a warning, it's an ultimatum, Arendor explained during a secure transmission to Captain Voss. It offers humanity a choice: surrender your weapons, dismantle your empire, and prove yourselves worthy of coexistence, or face annihilation. Lyra absorbed the information, her jaw tightening. "So we have to convince the entire Dominion to lay down arms? How do we even begin to?" "You don't need the whole Dominion," Arendor interrupted. "The Phantom judges civilizations based on their leaders. If you remove Draven and demonstrate a willingness to change, it might stand down." "But how do we reach it?" Lyra asked. "Every time we try to engage, it disappears before we can communicate." Arendor hesitated, then said, "I believe I can create a signal, a frequency that resonates with the Phantom's AI. If we broadcast our intentions directly to it, it may listen." "Do it," Lyra ordered without hesitation. "We'll buy you as much time as we can." Chapter 14. The Battle for Humanity. The stage was set for the final confrontation. Admiral Draven, aware of the growing rebellion, gathered his remaining forces near the Galactic Core, a heavily fortified region surrounded by unstable stars. He intended to make his last stand there, confident that the Phantom wouldn't risk destroying itself by engaging so close to the volatile celestial bodies. Captain Voss led the rebel fleet into the fray, knowing they were outnumbered and outgunned. But numbers weren't their only advantage. Morale surged among the rebels, fueled by the belief that they were fighting for something greater than power or dominance. As the two fleets clashed, the Phantom materialized in the midst of the chaos. Its presence sent shockwaves through both sides, forcing them to halt their attacks momentarily. Instead of targeting either faction, it hovered silently, observing the unfolding conflict. On board the Dominion Pride, Draven raged at his crew. "What are you waiting for? Fire everything we've got." "But sir," one officer protested, "if we provoke the Phantom further, it could destabilize the entire region." "Silence," Draven roared. "I gave an order." Reluctantly, the crew complied, launching a barrage of missiles and energy beams at the Phantom. As expected, the entity dodged effortlessly, phasing in and out of reality with maddening precision. Then, with a single pulse of energy, it disabled the Dominion Pride's weapon systems, leaving the flagship defenseless. Seizing the opportunity, Captain Voss ordered her ship to close in on Draven's position. The Eclipse Vanguard engaged the enemy fleet in a daring assault, carving a path toward the stranded flagship. Explosions lit up the void as the battle raged around them. Chapter 15: Sacrifice and Survival Inside the Dominion Pride. Admiral Draven refused to surrender. Cornered in the command center, he activated the ship's experimental superweapon, a device capable of tearing apart space-time itself. "If I'm going down," he snarled, "I'm taking everyone with me." Realizing the danger, Captain Voss made a split-second decision. Piloting a boarding shuttle, she breached the flagship's hull and fought her way to the command center. By the time she arrived, Draven had already initiated the weapon's countdown. "You idiot!" she shouted, drawing her sidearm. "Do you realize what you're doing? You'll destroy the galaxy!" Draven sneered, raising his own weapon. "Better to die free than live as slaves to some ghost in the stars." In the ensuing struggle, Voss managed to disable the weapon, but not before sustaining critical damage to the shuttle's reactor core. Knowing she couldn't escape in time, she transmitted the coordinates of the Phantom's location to the rebel fleet and activated Arendor's signal. As the shuttle exploded, engulfing the flagship in flames, the Phantom responded. It projected a massive beam of light that enveloped the battlefield, silencing every weapon and freezing the combatants in place. When the light faded, the Phantom's voice echoed through the minds of everyone present. "Your kind has proven itself capable of change. We will depart, but remember this day. You have been judged and you have chosen redemption." With that, the Phantom vanished, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. Epilogue. A new dawn in the weeks that followed, the remnants of the Dominion dissolved, replaced by a fragile coalition of free worlds committed to rebuilding. Commodore Callan assumed leadership of the provisional government, vowing to prioritize cooperation over conquest. Stories of Captain Voss's sacrifice became legend, inspiring countless others to carry the torch of unity. Arendor dedicated himself to studying the precursor technology recovered from the ruins, hoping to prevent future catastrophes. In quiet moments, he gazed at the stars, wondering if the Phantom still watched over them, a silent guardian ensuring that history did not repeat itself. Though scars remained, humanity took its first steps toward a brighter future. The legacy of the Phantom lingered, a reminder that redemption was always possible if one had the courage to seek it. Chapter 16: Rebuilding from Ashes. The galaxy was quiet in the days following the Phantom's departure. The silence wasn't just physical, it was emotional, as if the universe itself were holding its breath after witnessing humanity's brush with annihilation. Entire star systems lay in ruins, their populations decimated by the Dominion's hubris and the Phantom's intervention. Survivors emerged from bunkers, shelters, and derelict ships, staring at the stars with a mixture of grief and awe. On board the Orion Dawn, Commodore Rhea Callan addressed what remained of the fleet. Her voice carried both authority and compassion as she spoke to the scattered crews via hollow communications. "We stand today at a crossroads," she began, her gaze steady. "What we do next will define not just our generation but all those to come. We cannot undo the mistakes of the past, but we can choose how to move forward." Her words resonated deeply. For decades, humanity had been ruled by fear, greed, and the relentless pursuit of power. Now, stripped of their empire and forced to confront the consequences of their actions, they had no choice but to rebuild, not as conquerors, but as stewards of the stars. Under Callan's leadership, efforts began to restore infrastructure, provide aid to devastated planets, and establish new governing bodies based on cooperation rather than domination. It was slow, painstaking work, but it marked the first steps toward healing. Meanwhile, Arendor worked tirelessly aboard the research vessel Eidolon, analyzing fragments of precursor technology salvaged from the ruins. He believed that understanding the Phantom's origins could help prevent similar catastrophes in the future. His discoveries revealed glimpses of an ancient civilization that had faced its own existential crisis, and ultimately chosen unity over division. Their legacy lived on in the form of the Phantom, a testament to the enduring power of hope. Chapter 17. Remembering the fallen in the heart of the Coalition's provisional capital, a memorial was erected to honor those who had perished during the conflict. At its center stood a holographic projection of Captain Lyra Voss, her image forever preserved in a moment of quiet resolve. Beneath it, an inscription read, "To those who gave everything so others might live. May we never forget the cost of redemption." Survivors gathered around the monument sharing stories of loved ones lost and sacrifices made. Some spoke of Captain Voss's bravery during the final battle, how she had sacrificed herself to disable Admiral Draven's superweapon, buying humanity one last chance at survival. Others recounted tales of ordinary citizens who had risen above despair to help their neighbors rebuild. Among the crowd stood Lieutenant Commander Soren, his face lined with exhaustion but also pride. He had taken command of the Eclipse Vanguard after Voss's death, leading its crew in missions to deliver supplies and rebuild shattered worlds. Though he missed his captain dearly, he found solace in knowing her legacy would endure. "She always believed in us," Soren said softly to himself as he placed a wreath at the base of the monument, "even when we didn't believe in ourselves." Chapter 18. A Fragile Peace. As the Coalition expanded its reach, tentative alliances formed between humanity and other sentient species within the galaxy. Many had watched the conflict unfold with a mix of fascination and dread, unsure whether to intervene or flee. When the Phantom disappeared, leaving behind whispers of humanity's redemption, curiosity outweighed caution. One such species was the Zainari, aquatic beings known for their advanced biotechnology and deep reverence for the natural order. Their envoys arrived aboard crystalline vessels, seeking dialogue with the fledgling Coalition. Through translators, they expressed admiration for humanity's willingness to change, and offered assistance in repairing the damage wrought by centuries of war. Other species followed suit, each bringing unique perspectives and skills to the table. Together they formed the Galactic Concordance, a council dedicated to fostering peace, preserving knowledge, and safeguarding the cosmos from threats both internal and external. Yet challenges remained. Old prejudices lingered, and distrust simmered beneath the surface. Some factions within humanity resisted the Coalition's reforms, clinging to dreams of restoring the Dominion's glory. But Callan and her allies remained steadfast, reminding everyone that unity required constant effort, and that the alternative was oblivion. Chapter 19. Guardians of the Stars years passed, and the scars of war began to fade. Planets once reduced to ash bloomed anew, their ecosystems nurtured back to life through combined human and alien ingenuity. Trade routes reopened, connecting distant civilizations in ways unimaginable before. Art, music, and culture flourished as people rediscovered the joy of creation without the shadow of conquest looming overhead. Arendor became a revered figure among scholars and explorers alike. His research into precursor technology led to breakthroughs in energy efficiency, faster-than-light travel, and sustainable resource management. Yet he never forgot the lessons of the Phantom or the burden of responsibility it carried. Late one night, aboard the Eidolon, Arendor gazed out at the stars. Through the ship's observation deck, the galaxy stretched endlessly before him, vast and full of promise. He thought about the cycles of rise and fall that defined civilizations throughout history, and wondered if humanity truly had broken free of that pattern. "Are you still watching?" he whispered into the void. "Do you see what we've done?" For a brief moment he swore he saw a shimmer in the distance, a faint ripple in the fabric of space-time. Then it was gone, leaving only the eternal dance of light and shadow. Smiling faintly, Arendor returned to his work. Whether the Phantom lingered as a silent observer or had moved on to judge another corner of the universe, its message was clear. Redemption was possible, but vigilance was key. Humanity's second chance was theirs to cherish and theirs to protect. Epilogue. Echoes among the stars. Decades later, the story of the Phantom had become legend, passed down through generations. As both warning and inspiration, tales of its ghostly form gliding between stars sparked imaginations, while accounts of its judgment served as reminders of humanity's capacity for both destruction and renewal. Children growing up under the banner of the Galactic Concordance learned about Captain Lyra Voss in school, reciting her final words like a sacred mantra. "We are more than our mistakes. We are the sum of our choices." Among these children was a young girl named Kayla, whose parents had survived the devastation of Proxima Centauri Prime. She often dreamed of piloting a starship, exploring the farthest reaches of the galaxy. One evening, as she gazed at the constellations from her bedroom window, she thought she saw something unusual, a silver shimmer darting across the sky. "Mom!" she called excitedly. "Did you see that? Was it a shooting star?" Her mother smiled knowingly. "Maybe," she replied. "Or maybe it was just a ghost, reminding us to keep looking upward." Kayla grinned, her eyes wide with wonder. Somewhere, out there beyond the edges of the known universe, the Phantom continued its eternal watch. And perhaps, just perhaps, humanity had finally earned its place among the stars.